Good afternoon and welcome back for another episode here at the Wells Fargo Beyond College webinar series. My name is Dominique Garcia and I serve as the Assistant Commissioner at the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, and we are proud partners of this year's webinar series with our wonderful partners at Wells Fargo. Today's episode will be social media smarts and cyber safety. See, it's very key and notable that we do teach you some safeties and some keys and some tips and some tricks. So you were birthed into social media. You were birthed into technology. You don't know anything about the snake game. You don't know anything about text message costing 25 cents back in the day. So we are here to school you and put you on game. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get ready to kick back, relax. If you are in anywhere of the hurricane territory, we are hoping that you are safe right now, but you are in a safe place here with the Beyond College webinar series. So with further ado, let's go ahead and get started. And like I said, I represent the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. If you are wondering, well, who are you guys? I am here to teach you about who we here are as the MEAC. So we are a Division I HBCU conference, part of the NCAA. We are one of two HBCU conferences, and we are thrilled. We are made up of 8 members, which is known as the Elite 8. We are founded in 1970 and we are located here in Norfolk, Virginia. If you are unfamiliar with Norfolk, Virginia, we hold the largest naval base in the world, so we are filled with protection and safety. We sponsor 14 sports, with currently 3 being active, from volleyball, football, and cross country, as well as, if you are familiar with the big HBCU Bowl, Celebration Bowl, well, we hold the lead right now. We hold a 6-2 win title against our rivals, the SWAC Conference. However, we are excited to welcome everyone back on December the 14th in Atlanta, Georgia for the Celebration Bowl. Now, I discussed the Elite 8, but what is the Elite 8 without us highlighting our member institutions? Today, we're going to highlight no other than South Carolina State University, located in Orangeburg, Virginia, founded in 1896 by South Carolina General Assembly. They are one of the founding members of the MEAC, so they have been grounded with us for over 50 years, and we love our Bulldogs. If you look right down at the bottom, you will meet Spike the Bulldog. Now, you cannot miss him because he will be at the home opener for this weekend as the football team will take on A&T. So we are super excited as the game will be live broadcasted on ESPN Plus. So please be sure to tune in. But hold on, because we do have a couple of more of our athletes that will be premiering on ESPN Plus. From our volleyball team, they will face off against their competitor, Howard University, as well as cross country. Yes, we are super excited for them. Now, when discussing South Carolina State University, let's discuss their area. They are more of a rural area, so you have a little bit of space. From there, you're going to take more of a small institution. They hold over 2,600 students currently on their campus with a 95% career placement. That's helpful. It's not about just going to college. It's not about just getting the degree and walking across the stage. It's about making sure you are career placed, with the top 3 majors being business administration, health science, and human services. So with further ado, we are super excited to bring forward South Carolina State, but we have some exciting news. As of yesterday, we have signed, sealed, and delivered that our game this weekend, Circle City Classic, which will be 2 of our conference favorites, North Carolina Central and Norfolk State University, will be facing off for a conference play. However, that's not the big news. No. This game will be, for the first time ever in MEAC history, not only broadcast in English, but in Espanol. Yes, we are super excited. Part of Hispanic Heritage Month, we are going to be broadcasting our very first game in Spanish. So please be sure to tune in on ESPN Plus, as well as it will be re-aired on ESPNU. Game kicks off at 3 p.m. and we are super excited to see who brings home the first win for the conference. With further ado, we'll go ahead and move on to the next. Now, talked about Wells Fargo, talked about us joining with the Wells Fargo Beyond College webinar series, but we have to highlight Corporate Partner of the Year. We love Wells Fargo here at the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, and we were so honored to award them at this year's basketball tournament as Corporate Partner of the Year. But the man behind it, we got to talk about him. One of our favorites. I love seeing him wherever I go. Dewey, what's going on, my guy? What are you doing?
Listen, let me tell you what. You guys know we normally have Mr. Thompson here who does the kickoffs for us. We've had him for the first 9 installments. We may have to give Mr. Thompson the rest of the year off because Dominique was like bringing it. It was like down with the
Hey,
flow in South Carolina State and Spike the Bulldog. I was like, go ahead on, Dominique. Listen,
I had to bring out my admission skills. I spent 9 years in the office of admissions. I did my presentations. I
so
had to let them know I got to be Miss Garcia again. I had to dust it off real quick, put the
Miss,
marketing aside, and bring it back out.
listen, I love it. And do me a favor, give me 15 more seconds though on our presentation here. So the game will be available in Espanol, as you said, part of
Me
Hispanic Heritage Month. Talk about why that's important. I'd just be interested.
It's super important because as 7% of Hispanics that make up the NCAA and 4.4% making up the MEAC, it's super important for Commissioner Stills to highlight all
Yeah.
ethnicities within the conference. Though,
Yep.
yes, we are a historically Black college university predominant conference office, it's not just about one demographic. It's about every single demographic sitting at the table. So this is Commissioner Stills' baby. I'm happy. I'm Latina. Yo soy Mexicana. I am thrilled and excited to see it, but it's not just going to be broadcasted in America. No, no, no. Brazil, Caribbean, there are other countries that are going to be able to see MEAC football, HBCU football. So we are so excited for this. So please, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, tune in. It's there, baby. We're here. We have arrived.
Dominique Garcia, ladies and gentlemen. And if you didn't have your seatbelt on, put it on now because you see where we're headed here for today. Hey, Dominique, listen, thanks a million. We know that you're double booked with some other activities for today. So high five the team for us, and please give Mr. Thompson our regards. And to, as you said earlier, all our friends down in Florida, we want to make sure that we keep folks in our thoughts and prayers relative to those things. So
thank you so much. Alrighty, I'm signing off now.
we appreciate you, sis. Hey, listen, team, we're here. We are excited. This is the 10th installment of Beyond College here for this year, and we are just elated about where we're going to be headed. Sam, I think the next slide has a few details about yours truly here. So there's the QR code. If we're not connected in LinkedIn, feel free to connect in with us and let's keep the conversation going. Speaking about the conversation going, let's jump over Wells Fargo, $1.9 trillion in assets. 10% of the small businesses connecting in here in the U.S. in some way, shape, or form through our firm. Certainly the work that's happening across consumer lending, the work that's happening across the investment bank, wealth and investment management, all of these other groups. Pretty exciting there. We also are appreciative of some of the national rankings that the firm has received. Make sure you jump on to our Wells Fargo LinkedIn. If you're not connected into us, get connected. Share a comment. Share something that you've heard through today's broadcast, and let's make sure that we're informing others of the great information about our institution and resources that we're making available by way of great organizations like the Mideastern Athletic Conference. Hey, the next slide is going to talk a little bit about some funding. And again, we talk about this one, and we kind of hit it in different ways. Sometimes we go over it really quickly, but I really want us to take a look at the numbers here. Since 2012, now over $119 million of financial support that's been provided for higher education programming. You see the different organizations that are listed there. Many of those partners have invited their scholars to join. And if you disaggregate that, now over $40 million of support specifically around HBCUs. These are significant strategic investments that our firm has made to help students along their higher education journey. Full stop. We want them to get everything that they can get and then be able to build going forward. So my hope is that you all see that Wells Fargo is committed to supporting students along their higher education journey, and then ultimately being able to have conversations around career pathways. And so we've added a little nuance in today that we're going to be spending some time talking about some career pathways that we think align so well with our topics here for today. Sam, the next slide, it's got important information on it, and it's interesting. I was talking with some banking colleagues about this today. We want you to make sure that you're getting connected into our talent community. Go ahead and scan that QR code. It should take you over the page where you can log in and create a profile and get connected in. In addition, many of you all may be thinking about, hey, listen, I have some banking needs. And hey, I've been joining the Wells Fargo sessions, and now I feel like I want to maybe consider aligning with you all from that perspective. So please know we're appreciative of that. And you can actually scan the QR code here, and it will take you directly to a page where you can set up an appointment with a Wells Fargo banker to talk about your specific financial needs and how we can go about addressing those for you. So very, very important. Also want to give a huge shout out to LifeSync. I know we featured this on one of our webinars earlier this year. Great, great resource for those that are now starting to think about investing and things that they want to be doing in those types of areas. So please connect into these 3 links and share the information with others that may benefit from it. Hey, speaking of things we dig, I love this next slide. This is spotlighting our HBCU Legends debit card collection. We're really excited. There's 44 cards that you see listed here. I can also give you all a heads up. We have some cards that are going to be coming here in the very, very near future. We mentioned the SWAC a little bit earlier as Dominic was talking about the Celebration Bowl. So we got now Texas Southern University that's going to be joining the collection. And then we also have some of our friends from the SIAC. So Kentucky State, Albany State, and that's Albany, Georgia, connecting in, and then also Savannah State. Club Shay Shay, Shannon Sharp's old stomping grounds there. So those are exciting cards that we're going to be launching very, very soon. And hey, if you're attending an HBCU and you don't see your school listed here, get in contact with us. We want to get you involved in this amazing program so you can learn more. And one of my favorite cards is on the next slide, Sam. It's the great card that we have here for the mighty MEAC. So step in, make sure that you customize your banking experience. You can do this free of charge. Any of our retail banking customers can make that change and then boom, be able to customize the banking experience and get this amazing card there from the MEAC. That handsome card, I really like that one. You need that one in your purse or in your wallet. All right, with that said, we've covered off on some particulars here, and we're doing something a little bit different this time. We're actually going to integrate in a career spotlight. So I'm going to ask Mike and Cam or Kit, excuse me, to come on and join us here. So Kit, Michael, so excited to have you all on with us here for today. And we're doing something a little different here. This is our first time actually spotlighting a particular career area in conjunction with the webinar. So with our topic around risk, I feel like this is the right time to bring you all on to talk a little bit about some of these opportunities. So again, team, please meet Mike McGuire. Please meet Kit Cam. These are trusted partners and amazing leaders across our institution. So Mike, Kit, let's give it to you all for a couple of minutes. Let's unpack some of these risk opportunities that may be of interest to our students. We'll give it to you all from here. Please take it away.
Awesome. Dewey, thank you for the warm welcome. Appreciate it. Good afternoon, everybody. As Dewey said, my name is Mike McGuire. I am based in Minneapolis, and I oversee the corporate risk development program here at Wells Fargo. Really excited to be here this afternoon. I've been with the bank for about 18 years, ever since I left school. This is my home, is Wells Fargo. I hope it's going to be yours one day too. Can we go to the next slide, Angel? Now, by a show of hands, whether you use the hand feature or just even raising your hand, who's taken a class in risk? I'm always fascinated with students who have that opportunity because rarely do schools actually offer a class, let alone even a major. And it's funny, like, why is that? Because risk is essential to the success of any major company, especially financial services, and even more so at Wells Fargo. Risk is around us each and every day. We're making constantly decisions on a second-by-second basis that can have an impact on ourselves or those around us. Now, think about what's happening in the world today. What have you read or seen in the news as of late? War in Ukraine, conflicts in the Middle East, climate change, upcoming presidential elections, inflation. The list really goes on. There's countless other examples that play a major factor in how we manage risk at Wells Fargo so that we can make the best decisions in how we serve our customers. And with that, I present to you the Corporate Risk Development Program. Beginning next year, the program that will transition to a 2-year model consisting of 3 rotations over 8 months each, ranging in various different risk functions. While doing so, you're going to receive an intensive training opportunity both in the classroom as well as some hands-on frontline business exposure. And rotations range from market risk, which could include stock market manipulation, credit and interest rate risk, artificial intelligence, financial crimes, including terrorist financing, money laundering, sex trafficking, even strategic risk, which includes climate risk, ESG, other initiatives, and these are just to name a few. The list really does go on. At the conclusion of our 2-year program, analysts do get placed into a risk function and then begin the next stage of their careers, and hopefully for a very long time here. What I love about the program is that we welcome all majors, whether you have a background in business, whether it's finance or accounting, maybe engineering, STEM degree, or even liberal arts, your skills will be utilized here in corporate risk. And in risk, you get to be a part of the solution in protecting our customers here at Wells. If this program aligns to you and your interests and your skill sets, I strongly encourage you click on that QR code to learn more on how to apply. And I'm going to allow my colleague Kit Cam to share more about that application process. So thank you. Kit?
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Honestly, where were you when I was actually growing up and still in school trying to figure out what do I want to do as a career, right? So always insightful. I know that the more I learn about it, the more I'm intrigued about corporate risk for sure. So amazing job in sharing just really the world of corporate risk and how, it's all around us and potentially how it can impact us personally and also organizations wise, right? Scholars, as Mike had mentioned, my name is Kit Kim. I'm actually based out of the Dallas, Texas area. I've been in the corporate world, oh my gosh, 25 plus years, but with Wells, a little bit over 10 years. Absolutely love what I do, especially in this early career stage. So definitely do reach out to me on LinkedIn and let me know how I can help you. Okay. That is my role, is to be able to help educate you and connect you to the different opportunities specifically within the corporate risk program. As Mike has mentioned, the opportunities does exist right now. Our early careers is open only short duration. It actually is currently open. We have internship opportunities, full-time program opportunities, both at undergraduate and master's level. It actually, you'll need to think through it very quickly and decide, because it actually has been open for a little bit now, and it will close on Monday. Okay, so do take action. But in addition to that, please reach out to me via LinkedIn if I can help answer any questions after today. But I will be here throughout this session today to answer any potential questions that you might have as well. Dewey, over to you, sir.
All right. Hey, Kit, thanks for that, both to you and Mike, and appreciative of the fact that you'll be able to be on with us for the Q&A. Listen, before we jump from this slide, Sam, I think it's important. Scholars, go ahead and grab a screen grab of this, and we'll unpack this a little further on. But there are so many opportunities when we think about the risk environment, and candidly, I want to use the right term for this, the controls that we have to put in place to mitigate risk, right? There's going to be risk in lots of different areas. Some would say maybe in all areas, but we have to find ways to solve for it. So, Kit, I think the timing of this discussion as we talk about social media and smarts and things along those lines fits. And again, I hope that this is also compelling students to say, wow, I never thought that this is a space in financial services where I could actually go and find a career pathway. Not a job, but a career pathway relative to things. So I'm really interested in how we'll unpack that through the course of the day. All right, some other quick reminders here, and then we're going to introduce our amazing panelists. Don't forget, team, that today's conference call is being recorded. So if you choose not to participate in a recorded call, now is a great time for you to politely disconnect. And at the same time, if anyone that's listening to the playback of this call, we appreciate your feedback on it. If you have questions or comments around any of the things that we've shared, don't hesitate to contact us, and we'll be happy to provide any answers or guidance in the spaces where we need to. So the chat feature, open for business. Remember our rules. We will never read your name. If you submit a question, certainly individuals will see the information that's there, but we're not going to read your name out on the broadcast. But if you have a question, I guarantee you there is someone else that's either on with us today or listening to the playback that may have a similar question. So please pay it forward, ask those questions, and let's continue to learn and grow together. All right, speaking of learning and growing, I'm bringing on two of my friends. I would almost call them my boys relative to stuff. So we're excited to have Dr. Calvin Nobles with us today, leading great work in the cybersecurity space at the University of Maryland Global Campus, and also our good friend Sam Adams, an amazing marketing consultant and a social media strategist. So I have to let each of them kind of describe a little bit about what those roles mean. But Dr. Nobles, we're glad to have you back today. Sam, as always, an honor and a privilege to have you on. And let's do this. Let's make sure that we keep it a buck. As we say, we're going to keep it 100% real. And so, scholars, we promise to give you the straight version of what we know. And we hope that you'll take this information along and kind of pass it to others that can benefit from it as well. So, Dr. Noble, Sam, I'm going to give you all the reins here for your introductions, and then I'll be back with you when we get to the Q&A portion of things. So we'll let you all jump in from there. Take it away.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'll kick it off. My name is Sam Adams. I am part of the Wells Fargo social media team. Specifically, I'm a strategist, so I help kind of massage the messaging around what we talk about at Wells Fargo, whether it's the community impact side or the product and services side. I help kind of shape how we talk about that on social media. And previous to that, I was part of the response marketing team where we were seeing what people were saying about Wells Fargo and digesting all of that information, helping the listening team formulate, an overview to keep leaders informed. So I've seen both sides of how we talk about it and what's being discussed. So I've developed a pretty deep understanding of how Wells Fargo shows up on social over the past 3 years or so. And then previous to that, I worked at a small marketing agency, and then I had graduated from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte about 5 years ago or so. So that's kind of where my career has been so far. I am not nearly as great as Dr. Calvin Nobles, who's joining us today. So I'll kick it over to you, good sir, and you can give us a little intro.
Thanks, Sam. Samuel, thank you for the very kind words. And I will tell you, I'm very grateful to be here this afternoon with this glorious occasion. So one thing, I'll give you a little background about me. I spent the first 26 years of my life serving in the United States Navy. And then one day I said I need a job. And so when I was in the Navy, I learned about everything I could about cyber, doing some really cool stuff at the National Security Agency and doing some really cool stuff at the U.S. Cyber Command. And then I went on the job market. My very first job out of the military was with Wells Fargo. I stayed at Wells Fargo about 4 years, and from Wells Fargo, I was recruited by a small technology engineering school in Chicago called Illinois Institute of Technology. Worked there for about 28 months, and then I got a call here to come here and be the portfolio vice president and dean of the School of Cybersecurity and Information Technology. And here we run the cyber program, the IT program, the AI program, the data science program, the data analytics program, the digital programs. We got a whole portfolio of programs, the STEM courses and programs that we offer. So that's what my job is on a daily basis. But the fun part of my job is doing what we're doing right now, interacting with the students and shaping the next core group of people that's going to be leading our society. So I'm very happy to be here with that.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And from there, we'll kind of get into the meat of the presentation, starting off with who is a digital native. And this might seem like a slide that might be a little bit, rudimentary compared to what you might be thinking about, because we've all kind of come up in this. So a digital native is somebody who's been born during the age of digital technology, familiar with computers, the internet from a very early age. I would consider myself part of this group at 27, just because we've all kind of seen this technology grow and evolve and become a big part of our everyday lives. So that includes stuff like cell phones. We've all got one. Everybody on the call probably has one within arm's reach. And on those cell phones, you've got social media with traditional platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. You've got the newer platforms like Snapchat and TikTok. Be Real emerged a couple of years ago and it's now gone away. We have ex competitors like Blue Sky popping up, depending on the need. And then also non-social media as well. We have digital content coming at us from every angle. You've got the Netflix, the Prime Video, the Hulu, the HBO Max, and then platforms that kind of blend that as well. So YouTube is a social video platform, and you could say the same for TikTok as well. The new SKU in the past 3 years that we've been doing this presentation has really become AI, where it's kind of come into the mainstream mix, and more people have eyes on AI, both in terms of companies that are making tools that leverage it, and also ways that we can leverage it as consumers and users out in the wild. So we've had Alexa and Siri. I'm waiting for it to go off slightly to my left. But we have those that have been around for the better part of the decade or more. And then we also have the more professional use with Fargo that's come in as part of the Wells Fargo mobile app as well. And that's our AI virtual assistant that can help you with your banking needs. And a lot of companies are really tapping in and leveraging a lot of tools in that vein to find different ways to serve and leverage the technology that we've got. And with that, on the right, you see 1 billion digital natives will join the workforce in 7 years. And so even in the time that I've been in my professional career, I've seen how the knowledge of how these platforms and tools work can change the way the companies are leveraging them as well. It changes the conversations that we have at the table when we're talking about how we want to approach a new challenge or talk about a new topic or market a new product or service. These are things that we all have to consider. And so for the people that are preparing to graduate or thinking about what they want to do with their careers, we are all collectively uniquely positioned to provide insight that the prior generation just isn't able to have because they haven't grown up and been steeped in it in the same way that we are. So that's a big advantage. It also comes with a big responsibility, which I'm sure that we'll get into here over the course of the next couple of slides. But I do want to dial in and talk a little bit more about AI. And so for that, I'll kick it over to Dr. Nobles to start talking a little bit about AI and how that's coming on the scene.
Absolutely, Sam. Before we get into that, I do have a question. I'm not a digital native, and I'm kind of jealous about that. What do you call people like my generation who created all of this technology and got us where we are today, but we're not cool like your generation when you all are digital natives? See, my generation created this, but you all understand it significantly better than we do. So what do we call us?
I mean, I would call you geniuses personally. That's just what I would say. But I would also say that I think that it takes an incredible amount of innovation and insight to get us to where we are now. And I think that it's a teamwork effort. It's a collaborative side where the people that put it together and the way that we use it, those are things that inform each other. So they definitely go hand in hand. But genius is nonetheless, without a doubt.
Thank you. All right. And so as Sam alluded to, we're transitioning into an age now where we're talking about artificial intelligence, but here's the key. Artificial intelligence has been around since the 1950s, right? But we saw, with the onset of OpenAI and the onset of ChatGPT, artificial intelligence has skyrocketed. And with that, there's some concerns because, a lot of people don't really understand artificial intelligence. We have a blind trust to it, and we all are guilty of that to some degree or another when it comes to artificial intelligence. And so when we're talking about it with social media, it is there. I'm telling you, I see it every day when I use my limited social media platforms because I'm not as cool as the digital native. So I limit myself to Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, and LinkedIn. That's my breadth of using social media. But even when I'm using social media, the things that I do see and I notice a lack of AI transparency and explainability. Basically, what all this means is that we don't understand what the black boxes are doing behind the scenes when it comes to artificial intelligence. That blind trust is strong. And so we have to, as users, start asking the question, how is it working? Where is it getting the data from? How do I know it's built for me? Is it giving me the best use of what I'm trying to get out of artificial intelligence? And so we have to understand and reduce that lack of transparency and increase the explainability so we know exactly what we're using and how we can manipulate it better to serve us as a resource. And so, like AI generated deepfakes, this is something we've been seeing uptick over the past couple of years. I know last year when we gave this, we talked about you only need 3 seconds of somebody's voice to be able to generate an AI deepfake. And so now it's becoming the question of how do we determine if something is authentic or something's not authentic? So it's leaving all kind of issues around digital identity. How do we prove the identity of the digital identity of you or something that we're trying to use? And it's becoming a real problem and a concern as we see the onset and increase of artificial intelligence. Privacy violations. We think about a lot of us are using, we think about it, and a lot of us are using ChatGPT. And we upload things in ChatGPT. I know when I was a professor in the classroom, I noticed my students could answer questions relatively quick. I couldn't figure it out. What they've done, they took all of the papers that they had to read, combined them, and uploaded it as a PDF in ChatGPT. So whenever I asked a question, all they had to do was query the ChatGPT. Now, is there some privacy violations there? It could have been some privacy violation there because some of those articles were not articles, it was articles provided by a library to the student. So we got to think about how does that work out from a legality perspective because the library bought those articles. Or in the case, if I gave them one of my articles that I haven't given to anybody else for release, does that violate my privacy? Does that violate my copyright? Absolutely, it could be. But since I'm a researcher and I want this information out there, I'm not concerned about that. But think about music artists or other type of people that are producing products and pushing it out. And now we're integrating this into ChatGPT and other artificial intelligence platforms. We have to think about now privacy violation and what that means. Social surveillance with AI and technology. So we think about some in our country, we haven't reached this point yet, but we are getting there. So in China, they have something where they're using AI, and so they have a social surveillance program. No matter where you are in a lot of the larger cities over there, you are under some type of social surveillance program. And if you do things that's outside of the cultural norms there, you receive negative points. They take away points from you. And the goal is if you get so many points deducted from you, there's certain things you can't participate in the society over there. So just something to think about. How would that look if we brought something to that like that in the United States? But nonetheless, think about it. Who wants to be socially under social surveillance continuously? And now with the improved capability of AI, you can be match your social surveillance in one city could be matched with your social surveillance or something from another city and put it together. And now we have a better picture of you of what you're doing when you're out and about. So these are some really hard concerns when we're talking about leveraging AI. We talk about invasion of our privacy and things, especially when we're out and about with our families or doing things when we're not at work. So we're constantly being surveilled right now. Socioeconomic equality. And so we already had to worry about the digital divide. Now with AI, there's another aspect to this as now we have to look at things socioeconomically. What about the people in society who cannot afford to use AI, who don't have access to technology, who don't have access to different platforms? And so from a socioeconomic aspect, that's creating an inequality. Now think about that if you're a high school student or you're a college student, and maybe you didn't have money to buy some of the AI capabilities and tools, because some of these platforms are now beginning to charge. And so will you be prepared for the workforce as somebody who had the means to go out and purchase some of these AI capabilities and technology? So it creates a social economic inequality. And so that is something that we need to address to make sure that AI remains a capability that's going to be afforded and used by all. When we talk about the financial crisis caused by AI algorithm, it's there. I mean, I can't think of a day where I don't get some type of email or some type of message from all of my friends talking about how they're using AI algorithms to determine what's going to happen in the stock market. It's impacting how we invest. It's impacting where we shop. And so there is some financial crisis around how we use AI algorithms, and especially that. When anytime you go on a social media platform, I mean, sometimes I might be talking about the Atlanta Braves baseball game, and next thing I know, when I'm on social media, what do I see? I see an advertisement for the Atlanta Braves. How did I get there, right? And so it really makes you think, how did I get there, and how are they able to put it there so fast? So that lets you know how advanced our artificial intelligence capabilities are growing. We still got a long way to go, but it's getting there. And so we talk about social manipulation through AI algorithms. So think about a lot of the misinformation and the disinformation we see across society today. And you talk about how that information is widespread, and a lot of it's been widespread across different social media platforms. And I'm pretty sure Sam could speak to that, but we got to be careful about the information that we see coming across on social media platforms. You got to make sure you question. Always have a questioning attitude about the information you're reading. Don't always accept everything for truth that you read on social media. Your parents have told you that. Professors have told you that, teachers have told you that. We got to make sure we question things. And then the other thing, the last point here is the uncontrollable self-aware AI. This is kind of like when we see movies like iRobots, when these things go off the radar and start doing the things that they want to do on their own. And so some of you might say, well, that's TV. Well, let's think about it in real terms. Let's think about an adversarial nation to the United States getting control of one of our AI capabilities, let's say one of our global hawks. They go in and they get control of a US-owned global hawk and turn it against us. And so now that's what you have. You have an uncontrollable, self-aware AI. And so that's a real-world example that could potentially happen. And that's why it's so incredibly important that we continue to safeguard our assets and understand the real impact of artificial intelligence on society.
Very well said. And I was just going to go back and talk to a couple of the points, specifically in terms of misinformation, because as somebody whose job it is every day to go out and scour the internet and see what people are saying, there is a rampant issue of misinformation where it's getting more and more difficult compared to 5 years ago to figure out what is actually real and what's not. Mm-hmm. And I think that a couple of years ago, we all probably laughed because you can pick out, which video is Will Smith actually eating spaghetti. It's like, turns out, it's not the one that looks like a claymation. Now you're getting closer, not to beat the dead horse that's been the AI argument, but you're getting closer to reality where a video can be generated. Google is baking AI directly into new Pixel phones that can generate things that look photorealistic, truly. Um, and so I would just reiterate, if you see something that feels a little bit off, research, dig a little bit deeper, because the internet that we've grown up with is still there. It is always going to be there, and you can still research, and it is still a library of information. Dewey, you want to chime in?
Just briefly here. So first of all, Dr. Nobles, with the Major League Baseball playoff race underway, let's not bring up that team. I'm not going to mention the name of the team that you said, because there's only one team that's making a wild card in the National League East, and they happen to be in Flushing, Queens. But listen, Sam, go to something you guys touched on. So that's part A. Is there now a validation feature? And again, I won't say a publication, but let's say something runs online. Is there now a feature where you can go and confirm and say, hey, this is 100%, and I have to say one. This is 100% from CNN. This is 100% from Fox News or CNBC. Is there a validating factor now that's embedded in? I'm just interested in that.
I mean, there are tools, and Dr. Nobles, chime in if you know of any that I don't mention, but in terms of news accuracy, I know that there's allsides.com, I believe is what it was referenced, where it gives you a percentage rating of which side politically this article is leaning. So if it uses specific language, it uses keyword identification,
sure,
to give you a skew on that. Now, the other side of that issue is if it's not something that's just written in a biased way, if it is something that's a little bit trickier to identify if it was AI generated, there are tools that can give you a probability that it was AI generated, but it's getting more and more difficult to say 100% that it's not. Dr. Nobles, chime in if I missed anything on that.
No, you're spot on. It's very difficult to determine things that are not authentic today. And, even from in the academia world, when students submit papers, we had professors who would say, hey, that paper was generated by AI, and come to find out, and in actuality, the student wrote the paper. Did they use AI to do some of the grammar and spell checking? Absolutely, but that's allowed. And so you have to be very careful in terms of when you say something was generated by AI or something was not generated by AI. And so this is where we really gets into, us as AI users really understanding how to go in and put in some rules inside of things like ChatGPT, where we can say, if we write something, to give it more of a human tone rather than a robotic tone to help us, connect with it. Because sometimes when we use things without those rules in there, it has a very robotic tone and it doesn't connect with us. So again, that's a really slippery slope, saying that, oh, that was generated by AI. I try to get people to move away from that. And I try to get people to connect with what they're reading or what they're actually seeing before they make that judgment. And one of the other things that I do is I won't give a name, I have a software package on my computer that I use, especially when it comes to websites. It'll let me know if that website is a true and official website or whether it's a fake website and it's not to be trusted. So that's one of the things that I use to help keep me safe. But again, when it comes to regarding content and that content being authentic, that's going to be a little bit of a challenge. So I always tell people to make sure you have a questioning attitude about what you're reading and what you're seeing.
There you go. And we're going to unpack that more. Scholars, thanks for responding to the first question that was in there. I'd love for you all to drop some things into the chat, some of the technology that you all are using today to safeguard things. Let's make sure we use those too. And Sam, Dr. Nobles, I'm giving it back to this to you in 15 seconds. I also wrote down something that you all said here when you talked about some of the observations that may be happening in other regions of the country. Privacy versus protection. How do we balance those two pieces? And we don't have to unpack that now, but that's just something else that I kind of jotted down here as something that kind of jumped out for me as you all were talking about some of the social surveillance that's happening. let's just leave it at that. So,
okay.
All right. Well, let's keep going. Scholars, reminder, utilize that chat feature. I'm seeing a couple of items coming in here. Shout outs to the folks joining us in LA and folks joining us in Charlotte. So let's keep this thing going. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think I kind of touched on everything AI and social media related. And, by the time we finish this call, there's going to be 5 new tools that are going to change how you fundamentally use it to begin with. So try to keep up is the best, suggestion that I would have on that side. But moving on, we have the understanding the risk and impact of social media, which kind of ties into the question that Dewey was just bringing up and asking, because there are always risks that come with all of this. It's a very risk-oriented world we're living in, not only in corporate America, but also in general. But there are also some positive impacts. There are global communications. You can literally reach anybody around the world in seconds or less, in a way that 50 years ago, even 20 years ago, 10 years ago, in some ways, you wouldn't be able to accomplish. And then you have a larger network. I mean, on LinkedIn, you can have thousands and thousands of people that you've crossed paths with through your career. And if you have a TikTok that goes viral or a YouTube video that does really well, you can have millions of people that are connected with you in some way, whether it's an authentic connection one to one or something that is a larger, more of an audience kind of approach. And so, with that larger audience, come an increased awareness and an increased knowledge, both the people that are consuming the content, but also for the people that are going out there to search and find new information, whether it's on AI or just learning whatever the newest topic of the week is. There are so many ways that social media can be used to connect and inform and entertain, and a number of different things you can do on it. But with that comes some risk in the way that we use it. So when we look at the risk, you have some of these, and we'll go back and forth on them, and Dr. Nobles can speak to these too. And I'll just do a quick overview of them. But you've got the cyberbullying and the password security. Oversharing goes in with that as well. And then identity theft, which is kind of the worst possible case there. And then on the technology side, you've got virus and spyware, hacking, sexting and sextortion, and then ransomware. And so all of these are risks that have to be managed and mitigated as much as we can when we're living in this modern digital age that we all have kind of come up in. And so, Dr. Nobles, I'll kick it over to you. Do you want to kind of take these and then we can go back and forth and have a conversation on them?
Absolutely. So when we look at these risks here, one of the things I really want to say here is the password security piece that you alluded to here, Sam, is very important. And the reason being, and we think it's funny sometimes, but I always with my family, for whatever reason, I'm the family cybersecurity professional, expert, IT. They got their own geek squad in me, and so when they always call me when they get hacked, and the question I always ask, is this the password you use for everything? And they said, yes. And well, you have to go in and reset all the passwords and use a different password and use multi-factor authentication because, I understand it's getting very frustrating using passwords. And that's now we're beginning to see with our smartphones and other devices, we're being able to use our biometrics, which makes it a lot easier. But remember, biometrics can also be a slippery slope as well, especially if a bad guy gain access to the biometric server. So that's a whole nother element to trying to be safe in the cybersecurity environment. The other one is oversharing. A lot of people overshare and don't know that they're oversharing, especially when they're away from their homes, they're on vacation, or they're out doing something. And what they don't know is that sometimes bad guys case us, just like bad guys case your house before they break into the house. They case you as a target. And so sometimes when you're out with your friends and you tell us what you're doing throughout the day, all day long, guess what? You are really showcasing to a threat actor, cyber threat actor, that you have patterns, and they copy your patterns. They learn your patterns, and if they ever want to try to, attain you as a target, they can because of the patterns that you're providing them. And I would tell you the other one here that has really got my attention lately is the virus and spyware. We've been talking about this for over decades now, right? But what makes it so unique now is that people can send you a picture and you open the picture and nothing happens. All you see is a picture, or sometimes you open it and nothing happens. What we don't know is in the background, there's this thing called application list, meaning that it's running an executable file on your phone or your computer and you don't see it because it's application list. And so it's able to install the virus or spyware there and able to take a copy of what you're doing and take your login credentials and do what they need to do with it from there. And those hacking, there's so many hacking. We always think of hacking in terms of just with a computer, but now we got to think of hacking in different ways. A lot of us have smart devices in our home, like smart lights, smart devices. Everything in our home is really interconnected. So those things are hackable, and those things are more hackable than your computers and other devices that you're using, because sometimes the security in that firmware down at that very basic level of operating system in that device is not secure. There's no way to secure it. And so it's more hackable than what you think. So just don't look at you being hackable as a person. Also look out for your other devices that you don't think about, like your fridge, and even some people got these doors with the locks on it and things like that for what they use for biometrics. Also pay attention to those things too. The thing I would say about the sexting and sextortion, I would just say stay away from that. Make sure you understand your state laws. But the reason I say that is because some of you out there are athletes and you know you're in great shape and you might just take a picture of you working out with no shirt on and you might send that to somebody. In some states, that's a crime. So make sure you understand the crime, I mean the laws before you do anything, because you can be prosecuted if you break state laws and send in a shirt, a topless shirt. So make sure you understand that. And ransomware, this is a lot of people think ransomware just happens to organizations and businesses. They don't. It really happens to people too. When people go in and they seize your data, and when you, as soon as you know seize somebody's data, that's a game changer because now they don't have access to it anymore, and so they'll do just about anything they can to get access to the data. Always back up your data. If you can afford it, put it in the cloud, keep it there secure, and don't put extremely sensitive things in the cloud. Keep that elsewhere. So you can use the cloud for, I got pictures and things that I don't mind anybody seeing because it's just me out with my friends. But for my more sensitive documents regarding the titles to my vehicle registration and things like that, I keep that locked up in other places.
Yeah, those are really good tips. And the one that I'll go back to in particular is cyberbullying, because I think that, we're all on social media. And I think that the definition of this has changed a little bit over the past couple of years, where there was the original one-to-one or a small Facebook group of people that were being targeted in particular. But now uh, there's a hostile internet culture that's really cropped up in a very large way. And so if you are posting and you choose to share a lot on social media, you kind of have to protect yourself in that way and build boundaries that are building healthy habits for how you use social media. And that's something that, we've talked about for years and years. But beyond that, I think it comes down to that next line of the question of, are you portraying a professional presence on social media? Are you being the best version of yourself on social media that you would be comfortable seeing your parents, seeing your professors, your boss at work? Is that who you are portraying yourself as online? And so that's a really important question that we'll dig into here more in a moment. Dewey, go ahead.
No, thanks, guys. The question becomes, seeing is believing, or seeing is to be questioned? So just because you see it and it's on the internet doesn't mean it's real.
It's true. It's true.
In given areas. So just fascinating. And listen, again, I'm scholars. I'm jumping back to you all. We're seeing some items coming into the chat. Let's keep that momentum going. Keep those items coming in. We're going to be pivoting to Q&A in just a few minutes with things, but please let's keep those items coming into the chat. And gentlemen, thanks again for keeping it very, very direct here. Very, very direct. We appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then a couple of questions on top of the professional presence element. Do you know who is watching you on social media? Is it a close, tight-knit group of your friends and you have a private Instagram, or is it something that's more public and you're out there putting yourself out in front of the world? Are you giving away your identity unknowingly by oversharing, like Dr. Nobles was saying, sharing a lot of PII, personally identifiable information? Because as always, sharing PI is good, sharing PII is not. So if you have that extra one in there, you definitely don't need to be doing that. And that could come down to letting people know you're on vacation, or just sharing where you work out, or any of that can be a little bit more hostile and a little bit more dangerous than it might initially seem. Dr. Nobles, any closing thoughts on this slide before you jump on over?
The thing about it is you just got to pay attention to what's happening in this space. Every year we see new tactics and techniques developed by the bad guys trying to get at us, and we just got to stay smart and we got to help each other out. And some of you out there are really, really savvy on this, and I say take the lead and helping those in your communities, help those in your families stay safe, because the better we can keep everybody safe, and the more we can keep everybody safe, the better we are as a society of defeating the bad guys, because the bad guys they got 24/7 to come after us. So we got to work as a team.
Yeah, agreed. And I mean, when you've got a volume like we're dealing with here, how can you not need a couple of extra hands? Because this is just a quick snapshot of 60 seconds online that was in a survey online. 625 million videos are watched on TikTok. You've got 350,000 posts that are sent on X. Over 66,000 videos and photos that are shared on Instagram, and that's just public. We don't even know the metrics for DMs and that kind of thing. 20,800 people are actively using LinkedIn at any given time within 1 minute. 3.5 billion Snapchats are sent, and then 3.47 million videos are watched on YouTube. And these numbers are consistently and constantly going up and up as more people are posting, more people are watching, and it's this cyclical motion that's driving so much conversation online. And so the big takeaway here is that people are always on and always communicating, constantly going back and forth. And so with that, again, comes a lot of responsibility to be the best version of yourself, and then also make sure you're being as safe as you possibly can.
Hey, Sam, am I not cool because I'm not on Instagram? I mean, because, you know, I try to get on Instagram. I just can't follow. I can't keep up with it.
Absolutely not. No, I think that no matter the platform, no matter the trend, you can always be very selective with what you use and how you use it. There's no need to feel pressured into doing anything in any part of life, but in particular online, you can really pick your own selection in the same way you pick what TV shows you watch, in the same way you pick what you have for dinner tonight. You certainly don't need to feel pressured to be on one platform over another just because other people are doing it.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. Thank you.
Sir. And from there, we'll kick on over to hiring and social. And so with this, I'll go ahead and start this one off as well. 93% of people surveyed share that they know someone who lied on their resume. And obviously, lying on your resume comes with a huge risk. Number one, never lie to begin with. Number two, that's setting yourself up for a lot of questions and a lot of answers that you might not be prepared to give. In fact, you won't be prepared to give. So looking at the types of lies from the people who lied on their resume, you've got lying about skills, 18%, lying about experience, 27%. Turns out you didn't work there for 20 years at age 27. Not speaking from experience. I would never do that. But job duties are also 17%. So you said that you might have had a stretch goal or a stretch responsibility that you just didn't have. 29% of people said they could do something that they weren't comfortable doing, which can have impact on the performance if you do end up landing this job and they aren't able to kind of sniff out that fallacy at the beginning. And then also work experience, taking full credit on a project that was shared, overstating sales figures, or going beyond. I just realized that I am not on the right slide. Sorry about that.
Yep.
We were saying we were going to ask you to bring that one up because again, you've hit on some key markets here already, man. With a couple.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, sorry about that. I've got one up on my monitor and then one on the presentation that we're going through. So, anyways, on the left is everything that I just worked through and talked about. And then going back to the work experience, you've got claiming skills you don't have, the language proficiency as well. If you took one class of Spanish in high school, but now you're trying out for a bilingual role, you might have some luck, but also might have some challenge with that one. And then also misrepresenting job responsibilities, again, going back to stuff that you just didn't actually do. Is a big lie that a lot of people are sharing. And then on top of that, 92% of employers use social media to screen candidates before hiring, and we can dig into that. But I'll pause now that I'm on the right slide. Any questions or thoughts on that, Dr. Nobles? Feel free to chime in as well.
You know, I think that last point you brought up was right on. I've used it too. Sometimes when you got two really good candidates and it's like you cannot really decide because they're both strong candidates. Sometimes, you know, you might need another factor, and sometimes you can use, in some cases, paid services to look at people's social media or digital footprint to see what's out there, to see if you can find a discriminator, because the candidates are so strong and they're very similar. But the other thing I would tell you about, you know, just we have to manage this anyway, especially those of us who work in a professional environment and those of who are looking to go to college and find employment afterwards. Your digital footprint can be a major discriminator if you are using it for the wrong reasons. I always tell people, like you said here, Sam, maintain that professional appearance on social media. And there's a lot of people that said things on social media that they cannot take back. And so what I always tell people, before you type, breathe, walk away, let it go. Because once you put it out there, it is out there. Even though if you come back and delete it later, you don't know who took a snapshot of it. You don't know who's going to use it later. And we just got to be careful what we put out there, because we don't want it to come back and, you know, paint a negative picture of something that we really didn't mean, or something that just got away from us with our emotions. So you got to have that emotional intelligence while you're in your social media as well. And I always tell people, don't argue on social media. And the reason being, if you make a comment, somebody comment, and you comment back, at that point, it's over with. You got to let it go, because it can really get you down a rabbit hole and say that, you know, it showed that you're very argumentative. And you don't want to show that either while you're on social media.
Yeah, absolutely well said. And I'll just go ahead and bump over to the next slide where we dig a little bit more into the social media side of things. 54% of employers chose not to hire a candidate based on their social media profiles. And you can kind of get the gambit of how they make that decision, but it could be posted provocative or inappropriate photos, using drugs or drinking, discriminatory comments on race, gender, religion, bad-mouthing previous companies or fellow employees, lying about qualifications, poor communication skills. All of these things can contribute to a company's decision to hire you. And the one thing that I always say is that, just like Dr. Nobles just said, if you're putting it out there into the world, anybody can see it. And so companies are making tools that larger companies are using to, again, understand what the public is saying about the company and their persona. And so Wells Fargo uses these same tools, not in a way that's trying to seek people out to find fault, but it's just, if you put something out there in the same way that I can type Wells Fargo on X and figure out what you tweeted about them or posted about them 5 minutes ago, these tools just make that same job easier. So it's nothing that's not already out there in the wild, but it is bringing things to people. And that's not just a Wells Fargo thing. That's across every kind of organization and every kind of field you might be looking into. And so with that in mind, it's very, very important to be the best version of yourself. And I know that's the third time that I've said that, but like Dr. Noble said, take time, walk away, and just think before you post in a big way, and make sure that it's something you don't mind having out there for people to find, and that you would be proud to be able to say that you posted that online. And so these are a couple of the high level overviews. Yeah, go ahead.
Sam, do you mind if I add a couple of things as well? Honestly, these are fantastic stats, and all of the items that you just shared here are things that I truly see daily, as well as a recruiter. As you know, I've been in the recruitment world for over 25 plus years, especially now in the day of age of access to information like this. We do go look at several items that's listed on here, especially our hiring managers, right? They look at all of those components, not only through their interview process itself. So, and Dr. Nobles, honestly, I'm not cool either. So I don't use a lot of social media other than LinkedIn. I guess you and I are there with each other there. But honestly, I can share really firsthand perspective, for example, right? It really doesn't do anyone well to kind of fib or lie. It's eventually going to come out. I can honestly say I'm not the brightest person in the room for sure, but what has helped me to be successful throughout the different careers, and especially with this one, is, honestly, I didn't have to really seek this position that I started over 10 years ago. It was through my ability to connect with and partner with individuals early on in my career. And they gravitated towards me and reached out to me to look at the opportunity. Again, the work that you do and your authenticness, right? Who you are, doing what you say you're going to do, those are going to be really things that will help you be successful in your life. I can certainly attest to that. Being tenacious, be candid, be open. Speaking as a recruiter, we want to help advocate for you. So the more that you're able to share with us professionally as to where you want to go, what are some of the areas that you really want to work on, we can help to get you connected to the right individuals to help develop on some of those areas. We're not looking perfection. We're looking for individuals that are going to be reflective, open to learning, and just really open and eager for the opportunity that we have to offer within the organization. So engage and be open with your recruiter. We are your advocate. Okay. Sam, thanks for allowing me some time there.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you for sharing those insights. It's always great to hear directly from the people that are making the decisions and helping people make decisions. So thank you for chiming in as well. And then from there, I will move on to the next slide here, and I'll kick it over to Dr. Nobles. These are simple rules for your cybersecurity safety. And again, this kind of gets us away from the social media use side of things, but more on actually keeping you technologically safe and good practices to keep you there. So Dr. Nobles, can you walk us through these?
Yes, if you go ahead and bump the slide over for me, Sam.
I did the same thing I did last time. There you go.
There we go. All right, some very simple rules here. Never click on a link. Never click on a link. Know before you click. That is so important. And a lot of times we do this and we don't even realize we're doing it. And so what I always say is, if I don't recognize the name and I don't recognize the business transaction, I have no problem deleting the email. Because if it's important, guess what? They'll follow back up with me. But if something I see on a routine basis, I'm comfortable with that, but sometimes I still will call just to make sure because things happen. So always click before you know what you're clicking and who you're getting emails from. I'll be honest with you, I got family members who's been hacked several times. Whatever they send me, I don't see. I'm sorry, they just don't have the proper security behavior that I trust, and I don't want to put myself in jeopardize my own cybersecurity safety. So I just don't click on anything they send me. They talk about changing your passwords here every 90 to 120 days. I would tell you, try to use uh, biometrics whenever you can, and also use a password manager because we do have a lot of passwords, and it's very difficult to remember all of your passwords. And so some of my colleagues will say, don't talk about passwords, say passphrases, because passphrases are longer. It takes longer to crack a passphrases if you get it right. And we talk passphrases, we're talking 12, 16 characters, right? And so, but that's hard to remember. And that's why having a password manager that's backed up by multi-factor authentication puts you in a better position. But the one thing we have to realize, we are really never safe. Which only thing we're trying to do is impede the hackers. We're trying to slow them down. They're looking for quick hits. And so anything we can do to precede them, to impede them, to make them move on to something else, that's a win for us. Pause before you post. We just finished talking about this. Are you posting personal identifying information? Think about that. Are you posting something that's too sensitive? A lot of people do post something that's too sensitive with a lot of information, and we have to be careful with that because people are watching, and you have to understand people can use that information to answer some of your security questions. Like for instance, on social media, you might see a question, what's your favorite color? There's a reason why somebody asking, what's your favorite color? Or what's your favorite team? Or what's your favorite city? They might post it out there knowing that you're a member of that particular group. They're looking to see if you respond so they can steal that and see if they can log into your account. So be mindful of people doing things like that out there to get free information about you. Don't overshare. I love picking on my family when it comes to digital safety. I love them, but in some cases, I got a twin sister. She tells everybody where she is all the time. And so I have to get on to her and tell her, stop it. Nobody cares where you are. Nobody cares you went to this restaurant. If you want to send me a picture of it, send me a picture on text. Don't send it to the world. We can talk that way, right? And so never leave your devices unattended. This is so important. I remember when I was about 10 years ago, my buddies were always, if you left your computer unlocked, they will make sure you never left it unlocked again. They would do a trick or something on you. We done got a little too sensitive for that now. And it's really not the right thing to do in terms of security policies, organizations, but never leave your devices unlocked or unattended because people can walk away with them. And even if they don't get your information, they can hit the reset button. And guess what? Now they got a free device, right? That they can log into. So don't give people free devices. Back up your data regularly. Again, I use the cloud. I also have a 1 terabyte hard drive. I don't really have a lot of cool stuff like you all to back up and save. I just got a couple of research papers that I want to save. So make sure you do this on a regular basis and make sure you know where your information is at. Where is it going? Make sure you're just not saving it somewhere and you don't never follow up and know where it's going. And if you do have a backup hard drive, I have a portable hard drive I save to, make sure you lock that up. You don't just leave that laying around all the time because people come in and out of your place and people can make their way to it and use it to gain access to your sensitive data. And monitor your accounts for any suspicious activity. This is true. Make sure you set the go in and check the feature where you can get notifications when there's something going on with your account. Always do that because it's just an extra check that we can use to help determine if there's something suspicious going on with our account, whether it's your email account, whether it's your Facebook account, whether it's a checking account. Doesn't matter what it is. Whatever security feature that they're offering you, make sure you use it because it creates another layer of security for you and also provide you with that extra level of being comfortable, right? Again, set 2-factor authentication. That's true. Make sure you use that. Most of my family members that call me after their account has been hacked, I ask that one question. Did you use 2-factor authentication? No, I don't even know what that is. And so a lot of times I have to educate people on what that is, but it's nothing more than when you get a code that comes to your phone or your email, and you're able to enter that in and to the account before you get access to it. Share these rules with your family and friends. We said it earlier. Each one teach one, right? So if you know something that you can help somebody out, make sure you send a message and carry on. That's digital safety training so we can keep everybody safe, and use AI as a tool to make the world a better place. That is so true. A lot of people are using AI to do harmful things out there, and we have to call that out. When we see people using AI to do things to hurt others, that's not what this society is about. And we have to take a stance, and we have to take the stance to keep people safe and make sure AI is not being used for negative purposes.
Well, Dr. Noble, Sam, wow. I mean, you all ran through those items in light speed, and thank you for some of the suggestions that you provided. And I think there's some action items for all of us to take into consideration. And listen, during today's meeting, I got a fake call. it just happens to kind of pop in there. I do love the fact that you get a prompt a lot of times now that says, hey, this could potentially be a spam call or has been reported in those ways. It helps you to make a decision on whether to pick up or not. And I'm still preaching this to my mom, who normally calls during the webinar, Sam, which you guys know. She called me like 5 minutes before this stuff, 10 minutes before, so she's not gonna call it during the show. But I told her, listen, if you don't pick it up.
Yep.
I love what you said, Dr. Knowles. They're gonna leave a voicemail or they're gonna call back if it's really important.
Absolutely. I have rules for my mom. My mom's in her 70s, and she hasn't really been using technology that long, but she is using technology now.
Sure.
And I have rules. One of those rules is you can shop online, but you can't purchase online. When it's time to purchase, you call me or one of my sisters, and we'll make the purchase for you. My mom can never give her name, social security, address to anybody that calls the house. And then one of the other rules we have is somebody call and you're not really sure, tell them to call me. And so we make sure we get my mom out of that predicament so she's not under any stress or anything and accidentally provides information. So I encourage all of you to pick up some of these practices to keep your family safe, because elderly are targeted because they are easy targets in terms of people trying to gain access to them and gain access to their resources.
All right. Well, Kit, Sam, Dr. Nobles, we're going to go through these lightning fast. We've got some that have popped into the chat, and then we have some that came in advance. And so, all right, just hit these again really quickly, team. What are the best practices for preventing unauthorized access when using websites, especially in the social media space and in the cyber world? Give us those tips one more time.
Two-factor authentication. When you can, use biometrics instead of passwords, and if you're using passwords, make sure you're using strong passwords, meaning there are at least 12 or more characters in that password, and change it on a routine basis so you're not using the same passwords over and over for all your accounts.
Okay. So there's a question about TikTok, and we just have to read it as the person presented it. In their eyes, this is a tool, or quote unquote owned, I'll use the right term here, by the Chinese government. What are some of the risks associated with using that app? Is there access that they can plug into to take information from your phone simply by using the app? I'm paraphrasing it a little bit here, but essentially that's what they're asking about.
Yeah, Dr. Nobles, I was going to defer to you on that one. I think you've probably done more relevant research and have more information than I would.
There's a lot of concern from the U.S. government about TikTok.
Yeah.
So I know in the state of Maryland, we cannot access TikTok from any of our state government devices. So it goes to show you there's some concern. There's some concerns that the data for TikTok is being used by the Chinese government. And so the one thing you got to think about is for people who are of a young age, you might be 14, 15 years old, 18 years old, and you have been on TikTok and you provided a lot of information, and that information is saved. We now can save large amounts of data very cheaply. Now, fast forward 28 years from now, you're a highly successful engineer. Guess what? All of your data, all of your background, a lot of information you put on TikTok can be used by an adversarial nation to target you for their national security purposes.
Sam, Dr. Noble, you're going to make my mother-in-law throw her phone out. That's what she said on one of the webinars. She said, I'm not using my phone. I'm throwing it out. I'm just getting rid of it. So, all right. Thank you for the reminders there, Dr. Nobles, again, relative to passwords, potential risks there. One of the scholars suggested that. Dr. Nobles, this one is for you directly. Have a question for Dr. Nobles. how does your experience and education in cyber differ from someone that's learning it at a university or a college level? And what are some of the good resources or insights that you can provide someone that's trying to enter or make the leap into that field? I love this question. All the other ones are great too, but it's so interesting because it's like the educational side versus the street cred. You know, you got the street cred because you've been there.
Right. And so I would tell you, you know, just like anybody else, I started out going to school, getting an education. And so when I was able to get an education, I was able to get into the military, and that's when got my exposure to cybersecurity, IT, cryptography, you name it, all kind of technological and STEM fields. And so the thing I would tell you right now, the difference of your education today is that we have moved away from just doing PowerPoint lectures and doing theoretical teaching. We now do things like experiential learning in the classroom where you have to demonstrate hands-on skills. That's making you a lot more employable than when we came out of school. You have to be today. And not only that, but in addition to learning what you learn in the classroom, there's so many free resources out there. And you all got to get on LinkedIn, and you got to get plugged into the cybersecurity communities, the cybersecurity groups. It costs you nothing to hear from the senior cybersecurity experts on LinkedIn talk about breaches, talk about cyber attacks. A lot of times you can get podcasts. There's so much information that you have available to you that you can learn to help get you to the level of experience you need to be. And the other thing you got to do, if you're getting in any type of STEM field, especially around cybersecurity, you got to do this stuff, man. You got to do it every day. It's not something you could do 2 months and walk away from it. This has to be something that you're really passionate about. I mean, reading. I mean, I read about this stuff every morning before I go to work. And the reason I read about it is because I want to be plugged in. You got to know what's going on across the domain so you can be reasonable and so you can make a difference. Every morning when I get up and I check my phone, I got LinkedIn notifications from people talking about cybersecurity all over the world. That's where you want to get to, where people are giving you tidbits, they're giving you information on what's happening, you plugging in. And you got to move away from thinking that, hey, I'm in college, I'm not ready. You are ready. You're studying it, you're getting experiential learning, you got skills, you can get a job. You got to think that way. How do I make myself employable, right? Get on LinkedIn, communicate with the recruiters, get out there, communicate with people in the field. And that's how you move away from the college campus to the corporate campus so you can get the jobs you need and be ready. And just remember, it's not a one-stop shop. Once you get the degree, the certification, or whatever you're trying to get in terms of micro-credentialing, you got to keep going because this stuff is constantly changing and you want to be on the leading edge where you can stay and know, and so you can be employable. And I will be honest with you, it's a hard field to get into, and you got to put the time in. Once you put the time in and get out there, you know, this is what I tell my students. You got to move away from being one-dimensional, meaning if you just have a resume, you are one-dimensional, right? People only know you from your resume. So make yourself two-dimensional, resume plus social media like LinkedIn, right? That gives you two-dimensional. But how do you make yourself three-dimensional? Resume, social media presence, actively on social media, doing the right things, writing, communicating, being professional also helps you. Now you three-dimensional. The fourth dimension now is resume, LinkedIn, actively on social media in a professional manner, networking. Now you network. Now you're four-dimensional that people can see you in a different way.
Love it. Love it. Kit, a couple that have come in here on the recruiting side. Can you touch for us again what some of the great job opportunities are that exist in corporate risk relative to cyber and maybe in other areas of the firm? They're asking you to revisit that. And then the applicant also had a question about the timing. Hey, once you get an application submitted, how soon will you hear back if and when you're making it to the medal round, so to speak?
Yeah, absolutely. All wonderful questions to be asking for sure. Honestly, right now, Wells Fargo, you know, we're a huge organization. We have tons of opportunities that exist right now. You know, we're always looking for talent that have experience routes. So in terms of early careers, which is the field that I'm in, right, well, that's specific to internship and full-time, whether it be 1 year or full-time program. So our internship programs, actually, we do heavy recruiting during the fall timeframe. So we are in the midst of things right now, right? our goal is to be able to really get all of our interviews completed and offers out before the holidays. And that could be around before Thanksgiving, and pretty much close down around the holidays, around early December. So that when spring comes around, we do very, very little recruiting for those early career programs, because we're busy trying to get onboarding activities done. Just this past year, we actually brought in over 1,200 interns, and we had a centralized onboarding process in Florida, Disney World of all places, right? It was a massive undertaking for our first year. And we're actually, I'm proud to announce it actually will be again for 2025 at Disney World. So that's really exciting. For full-time, they start in July. Interns, they start in June, okay? But basically, it's 1 week of full intense learning experience. And then they go to their specific program, okay? So during that time period, right now, like I said before, if you're interested in internship and programs and you're still in school and looking for different opportunities, please start applying for that now. If you, however, are experienced route, let's say 3, 4, 5 years working experience, and me as well, right? I would essentially go to our career website. It's all posted there. Those opportunities exist for immediate hiring needs, and it can be nationwide opportunities, okay? In terms of, your question, Dewey.
Timing one, you know they want to know.
Yeah. Exactly. So it really honestly depends, right? Going back to early career, we actually opened that up relatively early this year, but we are going to close it down starting next week. Okay.
Oh,
That's because
okay.
we're actually in the midst of reviewing resumes for one of my requisitions, and I have 4 positions programs that's open right now. For example, I have over 2,000 applicants. It takes a long time to go through all of those resumes, right? To see if there's a match. And then after that review, our hiring manager will take a look at it. So in terms of timing, in the next couple of weeks, we will make our selections of who we want to go and invite into either round 1 interview. That might be inclusive of the online video interviewing process. And then we'll look at final round interview, and that's going to take place around the end of October or the beginning of November. So that's what the typical timeline looks like.
Sure.
But once you submit your application, it can take anywhere between 4 weeks up to over a month.
Okay. So helpful timelines to keep in mind there. Really, really helpful to keep in mind. All right. We're going to make this last call for anyone that wants to submit any additional questions. Interesting, Dr. Nobles and Sam, you all struck a chord when you started talking about backup. And so we had an inquiry that came in here talking about alternative solutions to the cloud. Are there some recommendations such as physical backups, which you referenced, and other secure options? And then they go into something here that was really special, like encrypted local servers or air-gapped systems. So that's above my pay grade. So I'm going to the subject matter experts here.
Absolutely.
That's singular, Dewey. There's only one expert in that field here, so we're just going to kick it over to the man to my left.
We know who's getting the tough one, Sam.
Absolutely, all those things are great but you also have to remember they come with risk and the probability of being hacked and targeted, just like anything else. They just have a lower probability. Remember, some of the hackers are very lazy. They want easy access. They want it right now. And so anything that costs them to do anything a little more work runs the risk of their signature being larger, so they get caught, right? And so we look at it from that way. But anything like a physical backup, I told you I have a 1 terabyte hard drive that I connect to my computer, that when I want to download some sensitive information, I can download it directly from my bank, put a password on it, and save it on my external hard drive. Now, because I have an external hard drive, it doesn't mean I can just leave it out. I have to lock it up in the safe to make sure it's protected, because guess what? That's one of the security protocols that, for the best practice of keeping it safe, is to lock it up. And, the same thing with any like encrypted local servers or anything like that. You got to put them in a protected place. And so they're all good options, and they're, can work wonders for you. But you also got to start thinking, okay, I have it, it's encrypted. I need to secure it. I need to lock it up. Same thing like, when you go somewhere, and like when you travel, it's good to have your external hard drive with you, whatever you want to use, but make sure you lock it up, put it in the safe in the hotel room, lock it up. right? That's the key, is make sure you're just not taking one step, you're taking the additional steps to lock it up and secure it as well.
So I was just funny, team, and this will be my last one on my side. I had a quick conversation with my wife right as we were getting everything started, and she said, "Well, you listen, yeah, everything they're going over is great, but you got to have an IT background to understand all of it. Hey, what else can we do to simplify things to make, you talk about backups, you talk about encryption, you're talking about cloud. If those terms are maybe not familiar with folks, maybe it's to other generations or friends and family. How do we just re-stress the importance here of doing those kinds of things to keep a clean backup, et cetera, et cetera? Again, for those that may not be in the know.
The one thing I would tell you is that sometimes, I forget things because I learn so much and I take on new things. I would tell people, you can only get 10 people, you can only get 10 penguins on the iceberg. And anytime you learn something new, one of the penguins jump in. So you got to keep relearning things. So what I do, I'll be honest with you, I'm a big YouTuber. There's some really good websites out there on YouTube. A lot of the cybersecurity certification companies don't put websites out there and put videos on YouTube. I go back and I have to learn some stuff because I haven't touched it in 2 or 3 years and I have to refresh myself. So just remember that it's like I said earlier, it's a constant cycle of learning. And if you want to learn something and you don't know what it is, check out YouTube. I'm a big fan of that because it's, to me, if I can see it, I can see somebody giving a demo, and sometimes they show real world examples, hands-on examples. It just helps me connect with it much quicker than just trying to read about it.
YouTube University.
Absolutely.
That's in the chat. YouTube University. Hey, listen, let's pivot and get a closing thought. And Sam, maybe we start with you and Dr. Nobles on this and then give it to Kit right after. But give us a closing thought, Sam. Something else that scholars and folks who listen to the playback, again, thanks for dialing into the playback. Give them something that they can take home, man. Maybe some homework, please.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, the penguins on the iceberg, I'm stealing that. That's that's great. That's 10 out of 10. Never heard that one before. That was wonderful. But this will be the 4th time I'm saying it on the show. Be the best version of yourself online. I think that's the biggest thing for social media. You never know who's going to see it or what's going to come back and potentially be something that you wish you hadn't posted. And then as these new tools pop up, whether it's Meta AI or whatever the next big thing is, the integration that's coming, be thoughtful about how you put your information out there and how you put yourself out there. Understand the risks that you're dealing with, and just navigate those appropriately and use all of the resources that are at our disposal to be as informed and as safe as possible. And that would be the thing that I drive home. But Dr. Nobles, I'll kick it over to you for your closing thoughts.
No, nothing more to add, Sam, when you talked about, keep being safe on social media. The other thing is when it comes to your digital safety, you can never stop learning. You got to continuously learn because the bad guys are continuously throwing more tricks at us, and we just got to stay up to speed on those things. Talk with your friends about it, stay positive about it, and just realize, when it calls you to put in an extra password or to go here and authenticate, it's all about keeping ourselves safe, keeping our information safe, and keeping our resources in our pockets and in our banks, right? Because remember this, for identity theft, at a minimum, if your identity is stolen, it's going to cost you anywhere between $40,000 and $60,000 on the low end. Because once people start racking up credit cards and opening up things in your name, you got to get a good lawyer to go in and fight that. And it's also a long battle. It's not something that you can do in a couple of weeks. So just keep your social security number, your driver license number, all those things just to secure and keep them to yourself. And just make sure you're surrounded when you have the opportunity to learn from others, you learn. And next month is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Take the time to do some type of cybersecurity awareness during the month of October to keep yourself up to speed. We can never let our guard down, because when we let our guard down, that's when we get got. As your generation say. I think that's kind of cool. You get got. Am I cool for saying that now?
Always been cool. Always been cool.
Always cool, Dr. Nobles. Get Cam, bring us home.
Honestly, I've learned so much, and just a lot of great affirmations just from listening to both Sam and Dr. Nobles here. It's wonderful to hear that, honestly, there's no 100% way of preventing any risk, right? But we can put preventive measures in place. So great to hear that as well. And it helps me to think about what I need to do as well is, I've been guilty of it, and I think you have as well, many others as well, is that, we become complacent. So how can we not become complacent? And as a regular reminder, But honestly, scholars, I was so thrilled to be able to join today, and Dewey, really appreciative for inviting Mike and myself to kind of share a little bit in terms of if they want a career, if you want a career in corporate risk and help contribute to the overall wellness of our organization and yourself, right? Think about the opportunity that we have to offer. I know Angel, who's our master of ceremonies today, will be sending out a follow-up email with specific information that you can take advantage of if you want to apply to the corporate risk program. I do suggest that you do that. My LinkedIn account is out there. I'm the only Kit Cam, I think, that's out there, or Kit Cam, better known as Scam, right? Please do reach out. I'll be happy to help answer any questions that I can. So thank you so much for your time.
No, Kit, Sam, Dr. Nobles, thank you all so much. And scholars, you heard them directly. Reach out. Make sure you're getting those LinkedIn connections there locked in. And if you didn't get an opportunity to present a question, feel free to follow up with them directly. And I know they'll take some time to give you a thoughtful response, or maybe be able to jump on the line with you for some additional learning opportunities there. All right, listen, Angel Heyman charges me extra if I go over. So we got to get to these last 4 slides, Sam, before we close them out. So some reminders. A Different World Tour. Listen, if you have not connected in with A Different World, now's your time. The tour dates for the fall are coming. Universities like Bowie State, Southern University, and Johnson C. Smith, we coming. So stand by. Make sure you get connected here. Get all of the details about where this amazing tour is going to be going. Huge shout out to Daryl Bell and to the entire cast. And thanks for all that you all are doing to support HBCUs. You know, we dig it. And we want you all to be there and participate in these events when they're coming to a campus near you. So hit that site, share it with others. And Wells Fargo is the premier financial services provider, just providing supports for this program, which is really, really cool. Really, really cool. All right, our last couple of items here, team, as we close out. Just want to remind you about the Beyond College webinar series. Wow, it's been a great year. Here's everything that we accomplished January through June, whether around budgeting and mentoring and resume writing, graduate school, entrepreneurship, securing the bag and protecting the bag. One of our favorite sessions of the year so far. And then obviously what we have coming up for the rest of the year. So we had a great discussion in July around those internships, and Kit talked about it. Some of these roles have been out there, team, since July, since August. Now is the time. If you're planning on applying, do not wait. The finance edition discussion that we had around paying for college, huge shout out to Sylvia and to Casey and the team for the information that they shared. And then obviously our discussion around around social media smarts and cyber safety. So just remember, these are available on the MEAC's digital network. You can share them, play them back, but do me a favor. If you grab the playback, throw it on your YouTube or throw it on your handles. Share it through LinkedIn, throw it on IG, put it on Facebook. You know, share about it through any of your social media channels. Say, hey, this is something that I took away from that. Or, hey, pretty cool that Dr. Nobles and the team were able to do this. Or, man, look at Sam. Or look at the work that Kit's doing. Share that information with others. 1-2 punch coming to close the year, everybody. We've got a great session coming up in October that focuses on credit matters that matter, unboxing your credit. You got to be there to get all of the details that you need around building credit for the future. And then a first-time presentation in November that's going to be focused on your pathway to home ownership. Huge shout out to Chuck Bishop and Iwana K. Brady and their team for what's going to be a dynamic discussion around home ownership. You say, man, I'm just a sophomore, dude. I can't get no house yet. You better check that. You can start building a pathway to own a home. Maybe no one in my family's ever owned a home. You can be the first. Join Iwanake, join Chuck, join the team to hear that information firsthand so you can continue to grow and develop again on that path to home ownership. As we jump to the close here, I just want to give again a huge thank you to the MEAC team for hosting us for all of this year's discussion. I hope that you all have enjoyed. Still got 2 more to go, down to the last 2, but pretty excited. And also we got more programming coming up. I mentioned A Different World earlier. We got programming coming up with the big homecoming. Make sure you Google Amir Wyndham and their team and the good work that's happening there on that side. We've got more classics coming up. The Florida Classic that will be coming up for us on the 23rd of November. in Orlando, and then the Bayou Classic that will be coming up for us there over Thanksgiving weekend. And then, as you heard earlier, the national championship there for HBCUs between the MEAC and the SWAC that will be coming up December the 14th. So we've got a lot of great things out there. Please get in contact with us. Let us know the things that you're interested in. Give us feedback on these sessions. You'll be getting the playback email that Angel and the team put together. And let's just continue to build these going forward. Again, Dr. Nobles, Sam, Kit, thank you so much. Dominique, thank you. Mike, thank you. And Angel Heyman, thanks so much for all the work that you do to make these sessions so impactful. Check your inbox. You'll be receiving that survey. Tell us what you think, and let's continue to pay it forward. Hey, we'll see you all in a couple of weeks for our discussion on the 24th of October as we unbox credit matters that matter. Stay safe, guys. Enjoy your fall. Let's keep working hard this semester. We'll see you in a couple of weeks as we discuss credit. Till next time, everybody. Good night.